Hi there, and welcome to the second edition of the OctoPrint Code and Chat Livestream. Yes, this is a new name. The last episode 2 days ago was still called OctoPrint After Hours, but I decided, considering that I'm actually working while I'm streaming, I shouldn't maybe call it After Hours because I'm still on the clock. So yeah, hence the the code change, right? The name change. Today I'm going to try to fix a bug that was reported recently on the issue tracker by Jim Neal. I don't know if he's in the live chat or not. If so, please say hi. um, so there's an issue with a functionality that should be working, but it is not working, and I will try to figure out why it is not working. And it might be something that is going to be figured out very fast, or it might be something that takes long to figure out, and we might not even be able to finish it today. I have no idea actually, because the only thing that I saw is it's broken, and I reproduced the error, the issue, and that it is indeed broken. And that is about everything that I know so far. So we are going to discover this together and figure out what is wrong together. I'm going to, just like last time, I'm going to share my second screen with you again. And you will also notice that I occasionally look up there because there's the live chat for me, there's the second screen for me, and there's my main screen for me. So if you see me not looking into the camera, but rather staring somewhere to its side, that's the reason. And I'm actually going to take a quick look at the live chat because it's like really busy already. Just to make sure that there's not something like, oh, we can't hear you, or something like that. Okay, yeah, no, apparently everything is all right so far. It's also a bit weird because I have the preview image of myself up here, and so I see myself talking, and that is odd. Yeah, but I will have to manage with that again. Okay, so I'm going to switch you over to the other screen now, which I think is this button. That looks right, right? Okay, so, oh, and I'm also going to increase the font size again. I forgot that. Yeah, because last time I think we said 15 points was good. Yep, that looks good, right? Yeah, and we don't need that. That's just a leftover from something that I just fixed. Okay, so let's take a look at the problem first. The issue is number 3490. And the problem apparently is that, or what? Not apparently, it actually is, because I could just set this to confirmed bug because it's confirmed. Mm, so as you can see, so the problem is that OctoPrint has a functionality built in where plugins are allowed to replace whole tabs in OctoPrint's interface with different versions. And apparently that's broken because this plugin here by Jim is trying to do that and it's failing. And it's documented in here how it should work, which is, I think, in the mixins template plugin. And it's right. It is this key that you can provide, and you just tell it the ID of the component that is to be replaced. So you have something like all this stuff here, but instead of suffix back there, it says something like G-code viewer or such. And it should actually fix it, replace it. And according to the code of the plugin, yeah, replaces G-code viewer, and that should actually be fine. I'm pretty sure that's correct. But we're going to verify that quickly. Oh, right. Sorry, it's again on the other screen. I'm going to move it to the bottom so that you can also see it. Oh, Jim corrects me. It's not his plugin. It's the fork of someone else's. Sorry. Yeah. Okay. But still, it's a problem you reported. Yeah. Okay. And I was going to take a look at that element. Oh, oh dear. Oh, look. That's why I didn't see anything. Oh, maybe it's that easy because it's called G-code and not G-code viewer. Let's try that. Let's. Okay, so I'm going to quickly check out that one. That would of course be slightly too easy, actually. I'm just going to quickly clone that one so that I can modify it. Nope. Okay. Am I blind? Wasn't it called Pretty G-code viewer? Or Pretty G-code should actually be. Just took a while. Okay, there it is. Attached to this window. And then I'm also going to quickly uninstall the currently installed version that I got directly from the repository, and I'm going to adjust it instead. That should hopefully do it. Sorry, I know you're not seeing that, but the problem is the window that I'm using here is like this Quake style drop-down console, and I do not want to move that to the second screen because I fear that this might be a horrible, horrible nightmare to do. So we are going to do it quickly offline here. But I just basically, I opened up a git bash and I did a pip uninstall OctoPrint pretty G-code, and that's all. So it was not that interesting. And then I'm going to change into the directory of the pretty G-code plugin that I just checked out, and I'm going to quickly install that into the environment, but in an editable install, so that any changes that I will do right now will be applied. So what we're now going to do is first make sure the plugin is actually installed, because there have been problems with that in the past because I was mistaken in the virtual environment that I was using or something like that. Just like last time, ignore these errors. They are due to a debug configuration that I'm currently running. And I want to make sure that I actually have everything working and producing the wrong behavior before I try to fix it. So we have that. It should actually replace that. So let's see if just a simple change that I think might already be the solution will do it. So we are going to go into the source code here and are going to remove the viewer part. And let's see if that already solves the problem. And if not, we can still dig deeper. Obviously, I should maybe have tried that before I mark the bug as confirmed. Because if this now turns out to be working, it actually wasn't a bug after all. But hey, no problem, right? And we'll find something else to do during the live stream in that case. No worries. I'm not going to just stop things now if this turns to actually be the problem. It turns out to actually be the problem, and apparently it's not. So that's good or not. Yeah, so this is still a stock G-code viewer. And so, okay, next step. We now see the problem is still there. And the question is why. So what we're going to do is we're going to use our friend the debugger again, which you might already have met last time when I used it to figure out why some stuff that I had added wasn't working. Also, if you see me wiggling around like that, it's because my lower back is giving me some issues when I sit as long as I currently sit. But don't worry about it. I will just go into the slightly more comfy lay back and try to sit dynamically and wheel around mode. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a look at the place where all this web page, this one single HTML page that is the OctoPrint user interface. And hi, Martin. Where this is being fiddled together from the various parts, from the plugins, from the internal modules, and all that. Because this is also the place where any kind of replacements will happen. As far as I remember, at least, I haven't touched that code in ages, so I'll have to take a look that is actually the case. And I'm going to... Oh, where was that? You know what? I'm going to simply look for replaces because... right. So far, so good. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to set a breakpoint here, because that should allow me to see if this stuff here actually happens. So what I expect to happen is that I should see... No, wait, maybe it actually makes more sense to... For includes T. Okay, give me a second. I have to figure out what exactly is happening here. So we are going to set a breakpoint here because that is going to make it easier to figure out what kind of data I actually get here, because I have no idea anymore. And then we're going to step through the implementing template plugins. We only want to do that for the plugin with the... What is the identifier of that thing here? Probably pretty G-code viewer, but we're going to check. Oh, pretty G-code. So we're going to set a conditional breakpoint here. And we're only going to stop if the name, I think, yeah, the name, so the identifier of the plugin that is currently being processed equals that one. And that way we won't have to stop for every single plugin that is installed and providing templates, but only for the one that we are actually interested in taking a look at. And you know what? I'm going to quickly... Yeah, so that is hopefully... So I take up more part of the picture and it's not looking that awkwardly where I'm like, hello, I'm down here. Okay, so breakpoint is set, so we're going to reload. Might be that I need to make a shift reload in order for that to... Yeah, I need to make a shift reload so that the cache is cleared and the template stuff is actually re-rendered. Yeah. And there we are. Okay, so includes are still loading, but okay, so we have a generic template, so far so good, and we have a tab. And the tab does contain... Am I blind? One entry, which doesn't have the replaces key. Now that is interesting. That would of course explain why it's not being applied. But that means that something that processes the template configs here is killing whatever we are trying to find here. But why? Why? Process template config. Yeah, so same thing as before. We're going to set a conditional breakpoint here. For name equals pretty G-code. And we're going to make this continue, and then we're going to do a shift reload again. And oops. Yeah. And I hope you can see everything and fluently and all that, because YouTube is currently claiming that something with my bitrate is not okay, but it should actually be fine. So maybe it's just because there's not much change going through. I don't know. But yeah, if you see any issues with this stream, then please speak up in the live chat, and I'll keep an eye on it as usual. So we are now stuck in our breakpoint here, and can take a look at what is actually coming in. So why is the configs empty? Now that is weird. Thank you, the stream is apparently good. Yeah, we have a bit of a delay here between what I'm sending out and what you're receiving, but why is it not receiving? Typical debugging phase, by the way. If you want to create memes out of that, now is your chance. Okay, so we are looking at the right plugin though, right? No, we are not. Did I forget to make this conditional? Because we are currently looking at... oh no, wait, that's the old values. I had an if with config. No. I want to go there. So configs is empty. And no, I wanted to go there, sorry. And configs is still empty. Why is configs empty? Because for some reason configs is not a list or a tuple, but that cannot really be. Look at line 699. 699. Yeah, but why? Why am I walking in there? So I'm going to, after all, we are going to go here. We are going to walk everything through there. Clap. So play, shift, stop, shift, reload, go, and then we're already stuck in the breakpoint again. Okay, so name is pretty G code, that's correct. Wizard required is false, wizard ignored is false. Bars, implementation get template bars. Vars. Empty configs are what? Implementation, pretty G code plugin. Aha! Really? Look at that! I think I just found the bug, and it's not in OctoPrint's code. And it's evil though. By the way, Robot the Industrial said that they saw a pass in the class dev of the plugin, and yeah, this pass there. I don't think that actually. I think that is just a knob, so a non-operation that is not going to do anything. But we're still going to remove it because it doesn't really make sense there. And it should probably have gone in here, where in the on after startup function, where it also doesn't make much sense. But Jesus, indentation, people. This should have been get template configs as visible here, and not get template config. And this is probably the issue. So next stop, reload. Oh dear. Oh, that's better. And if that is all, then yay. Then I'm going to quickly look through other possible options of what to show or do here while I'm working. Okay, configs. Oh, come on, load. Ah, yeah, it loads. Replaces G-code. And configs is set. Yeah, we're going to, you know what, we're simply going to take a look. What is going to, oh, we waited too long and now the browser gave up. Yeah, we are going to reload that. Yeah, but it's still not doing what it is supposed to be. What? Or is it? This looks like the normal one, right? Not the one that should have replaced. things. And no, we're not going to start a space versus tabs war now. But just for the record, because we are apparently now starting a spaces versus tabs war in the live chat, I have to just put my opinion out there. So the thing is, in my opinion, and I'm always I'm always in the spirit that if I work on code that already exists, and then I adapt to the code that exists with regards to tab and spaces use. But if it's my own code, personally, I prefer using tabs for indentation and using spaces for alignment. So a mixture of the two, actually. So for your indentation levels, you use tabs because everyone can then just adjust it to whatever size they want. If they want 8 spaces wide indentation, they can set the tab width to 8. If they want 16, they can do 16. If they want 1, the bastards, they can do 1. So whatever you want, you can use. And then for anything that needs to be aligned in the line. So for example, I don't know, you have this situation like, is there a good option here? Yeah, if I do something like this, right? I would use spaces for this. So if this was indented, I would do something like this. Yeah, so I would go to this here, to this align to this aligned point with tabs. Yeah, I know this is not correct Python, I know. And the rest I would do with spaces. So that is my personal taste in that matter, because I think it happily marries the advantages of both worlds. And gets rid of the disadvantages of most of both as well. So yeah, but okay, that was my 2 minutes or something. I have no idea how long that took on my personal soapbox regarding tabs versus spaces, and now we are going to move on. So what we saw is we now have a G-code viewer here, and we have a G-code viewer there, and this one is actually the one we want to have there. So, but for some reason it got renamed. So yeah, this is not working like it should. Okay, no, Sean, those spaces do not break alignment with different tab sizes, because if you do the alignment with tabs, then you can do with your spaces whatever you want, as long as the spaces start at the right alignment point. Then we can talk about this later in the query. Okay, so why is this now renamed, but still an extra? Questions. So we'll probably have to debug more. I always. Did I put the identifier back G-code viewer? No, I did not. But it should. You know what? We're going to check what identifier that thing should actually have. It's not like we cannot do that, because it should be just a couple of lines up here for the tab definitions. All right, it's G-code viewer, not G-code. You're right. Let's try that. Oh no, I have to restart. I have to restart. Right, no, right now we do not want to stop there. We simply want to re-render the page. The blade? And. Nope, that's still not doing what it's supposed to be doing. But I have no idea what's happening here. Just to make sure that we are not seeing some really weird caching issue, I'm going to do a shift reload. It gets stuck in the breakpoint again, of course. know what? These arrows are starting to really irritate me. I'm quickly going to fix the configuration there again. So I need to fix that, and I need to fix that. So with the next start, that should hopefully be gone. Be gone. So we tried that. Ah, look at that! It was a caching issue. So there was no bug. I mean, there was one, but not in OctoPrint. What is going on there? What is that? I cannot click this, but I can click that. Sexy G-code. I'm going to quickly hide that. I thought I could hide that. You know what? Okay, so whatever this is up there, it's apparently caused by this div. You are seeing these little black thingies there, right? Oh well. There it is again. That's render leftovers from this thing. No, it is partially. Ooh. Well. It might just be my... Do you even see that, or is it just my graphics card maybe? I have no idea. Okay, so, but long story short, we are simply going to quickly drop the fixed thing in the ticket, and then we can... You see it, thank you. So it is not just my monitor being weird or something like that. This is really, really odd, but it seems to have something to do with the GL thing, but because it changes when I move the mouse, and regardless of where I move it. So I'm currently moving it just over the tops of this Firefox window, and okay, that is oh well. So we're going to go there, and we're going to remove the confirm bug thing, and instead are going to say not OctoPrint because it's a bug, but not in OctoPrint. Bug in the plugin. Okay. Isn't it nice when things fix themselves that easily? John asks if it could be a fault with the browser render engine. Yeah, probably, because it must be something like this. Considering that it, yeah, if I move the mouse over a different window, nothing happens. And if I move it over a different instance of Firefox, nothing happens. But as soon as I move it inside this window, let's close this. Maybe it has something to do with that. No, it's just okay. Let's just ignore that. Also, why is it filling? Okay, I would have expected this to be exactly inverted, but that's just, yeah. It's not that important, actually. Okay, so, but that means we can remove this. Oh, and also Tony asks, or says, I tried to use the Better Gerbil plugin the other day to try and run my laser. It removed all the other tabs except for control and terminal. It did not return to normal after uninstall. I would suggest to take a look into your config YAML file, because I do not know exactly how that plugin works, but I could imagine that it messed around with the appearance oh, let me quickly check that exact so configuration appearance. because I think you can hide stuff. But I'm not entirely sure anymore, to be honest. Components disabled, right? Take a look if there are entries in your config YAML that say something like appearance components disabled, and then there are entries in here, maybe. So usually you do not have this section in. You usually don't have this section in config YAML, but I could imagine that maybe the plugin added settings here, and that is causing the stuff to be suppressed and not to be displayed. That would at least be an idea here. Yeah. Okay. Hi, Brett. Yeah, former lurker, Octolabs just chimed in. Okay. So that didn't turn out to be a bug after all. I'm just quickly going to remove this plugin again, because otherwise I will drown in plugins sooner or later. So pip uninstall OctoPrint pretty G code. Yep, I do not want to remove it. And then we can also remove the whole folder, because we're probably not going to debug it anymore, or at least not for now. Pretty G code there. Yay. Okay. So I'm quickly going to take a quick look on the other screen, because I have some things there that might be right. Let's check. What kind of stuff do I have currently in the pipeline for 141? Oh dear, a lot. Oh right, I know what we can do. I just have to find the ticket again. Did I maybe not? Yeah. I'm going to share that with you so that you at least not look at a static screen with a little me in the corner doing weird facial expressions. I'm looking for a ticket about M27 being sent. You know what? I'm going to look for M27. Yeah, that one. So we're going to tackle that now. So the issue here is that on some, I don't know if all Ultimaker firmware versions still do that, but the problem there is that if you select a file, if you scroll through the files on the SD card via the built-in LCD and the controller knob, then the firmware will send a file selected event. We'll just call it an event, but yeah, a file selected message on the serial, and this file selected message is the only thing that OctoPrint usually gets right before on other firmware, right before an SD card print is triggered through the controller, which is why OctoPrint, when it sees this message, will start polling M20 with the SD starters with M27 in order to figure out if a job has been started. And apparently, in this specific situation with this firmware fork by Ultimaker, if it receives M27 messages on the serial, then it will switch the display over to printing with USB, at least according to this ticket. I actually do not have a to test this against, so I'm going to just believe this. So this is obviously a problem, because you are trying to scroll through the list and then suddenly poof, printing with USB, which, by the way, I find very weird, because the printing with USB is like the least probable thing that you will be doing when you send an M27, because M27 is please tell me the SD status. So I'm not so sure about this decision, but okay. So my idea to solve this here was I cannot just not send M27 in general, because I need this in order to be able to detect when SD cards are triggered through the controller. And this is a feature that a lot of people were nagging me, let's call it nagging, nagging me about for years. Because they just kept starting prints via their controller, and then were confused that OctoPrint did not report on the progress, and that was simply because OctoPrint could not detect that they had started things via the controller. And so I built it in the best way that I could, considering the situation with firmware, which is not very good in that regard, because the only thing that I have is this message and the M27 status poll in order to figure out if something started printing. So I added that, but apparently this is causing other problems now for a subset of printers which do things slightly differently. So the idea is I'm simply going to add an option to disable this SD printing detection. As I said in the ticket here, I renamed it this way to work around weird firmware implementations. So if firmware SD printing detection is causing issues in the future, you will be able to add a checkbox in order to disable that. That's the idea here. So what we're going to do is we're going to go into the source, and we're going to... So what we will have to do here is we will have to add a new setting. We will have to add a UI representation of that new setting, and we'll have to make this new setting actually do something. For the latter two, we need the first one, so we'll start there. We'll start with a new setting, and considering that this relates to firmware stuff, the serial subsegment in the configuration is actually the right point for that. And I guess I'm simply going to attach it to all this many other flags that are already being used. So we are going to call that SD printing detection, and it will default to true. And I'm going to copy that so that I don't have to constantly type it. And then this is the famous communication layer, by the way. It has over 5,000 lines, and it is trying to make sense of all the firmwares out there, which is why it is this long and why it always gives me nightmares whenever I have to touch it in some way. So if I look a bit anxious now, that's the reason. Firmware detection, max consecutive resends. I think we're simply going to put it there. I'm going to rename that in a second. So enable SD printing detection. And yes, I know up there we have camel case, down here we have snake case. I'm still moving over to snake case everywhere. Okay. And now we have to look where it is actually evaluating whatever messages it receives from the it was underscore monitor. We are going to go into the method where it is monitoring what gets sent by the firmware, all the messages, and is also parsing them and all that. And then we are going to take a look at where it does this SD print detection. Process OKs, resends, timeouts, position of border, temperature processing, name and version, capability reports, invalid extruder, SD card handling. That actually looks good. SD card okay. Not SD print file opened. And this one is actually what we want to tackle, I think. Or was it this one? Wait, file selected. File selected. Let me quickly... I think it's file opened, but is there a log in there? File select, file opened and file selected, both of them. Okay. Yeah, but this one is okay. So this is the location where yes, Jim. Jim just wrote on the live chat. Geez, can we get standardized serial communication firmware, standard serial communication firmware authors? This really needs to be standardized. Yes, I know. I've been saying that since 2014, maybe 2013. Ever since I started to wrap my head around all this mess that we are in there, and the only time I actually tried to standardize it and I got that much pushback from the community that I decided, you know what, I already have a project. I don't need another one, and especially not on this kindergarten niveau that we are talking to each other here. So yeah, no, I'm not going to touch that with a 10-foot pole anymore. That problem, but it's causing me constant pain, having to try to work around all of these differences and slight um, things, slight behavior differences and all that. So yeah. And Tony asks if I'm going to make that a checkbox in the printer setup so that you can turn it on and off by loading different profiles. And Sean already said that that these settings unfortunately are not part of the profile, so he does see the need. And yes, I know. So currently there's a ton of stuff in the serial section that should actually be part of the printer profiles, and I want to change that. And I already started working on something that will change that, but we are not there yet. And this is the maintenance branch, and for now, this is still in there. I will take a look if I can somehow maybe migrate whatever I'm working on back into the maintenance branch so that future maintenance releases will also get that. But yeah, for now, I'm going to stick there because, yeah, it is not that tricky to maybe move it into the printer profile. Okay, what did I do with my wrist there? To move it into the printer profile. Um, but the question is where to move it if. So we are talking about the migration scenario here. Consider this. I have maybe 3 printer profiles because I regularly attach one of my 3 printers to the same instance. And usually so far I always had to adjust the serial settings manually, and now I want all this to be in the printer profile. And now I get a new version of OctoPrint installed. OctoPrint tries to do a migration step at first run after update, which I usually do when I do config changes. So you don't have to manually copy them over, but they are copied over for you. And now the question is, what do I do now? Because there are 3 profiles. Do I just copy them into the default one? But that might not have been the last one that was used. And I do not currently persist which one was the last one that was used. So that is like, okay, I might copy it in the wrong profile. I could ask the user, but yeah, that just means I need an additional wizard step, and all of a sudden something as simple as just moving configs from one spot to the other has become insanely complex. So I'm not saying impossible to do, but these are all the things that I think about when someone asks me to do that. It's not like easy. It seems easy at first, and then you think about the details and realize, oh dear, okay, I have these and these and these and these corner cases that I have to cover somehow, and what do I do when and if, and how do I maybe do a wizard flow that would guide the user through all that? So, yeah, it's the devil is in the details as always. But anyhow, we're here. So the only thing that we are doing here, as far as I can see, is this is actually the part where we decide we're now SD printing based on this file opened thing. And I'm just going to quickly take a look at okay, at the first try at SD card support. No, okay, it's more difficult than that apparently. Oh dear. So here's where we switch to SD printing, but we start sending the M27 before we are printing already. Because we set an SD file as the current file here, and I think what was it called? Auto report temperature, auto report status, and 24 sending. Nope. 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 Yep. Right, so the SD status polling, the manual one. So it will send an M27 if the printer is operational and not, then the SD status is not auto-reporting and the connection is not already closing and an SD file is selected. This is what happens if it gets this file opened message. And we're not in a long-running command, and we are not in a dwell command, and we are not heating. So this here is the reason why this M27 thing starts. Daniel suggests to just break the configs during upgrade and warn people. Sure, are you going to provide support for that? Because this is going to cause me a significant amount of stress, this kind of approach. I already get a lot of hate just for every minor thing that breaks, and something like, oh, by the way, you now have to configure all your serial settings again is definitely not going to make for a good time for me for several weeks or months. So yeah, not an option really. Okay, so this is here, this SD file selected is why M27 starts to poll then. And we do not want M27 to poll then, we only want it to poll once the print gets started actually. Oh, Jesus, that was a commit message here. Apparently I changed that a year ago. If an M27 to query SD status came after the change of state to printing, but before the M24 to actually start printing. Oh, that was when I had added the starting state. Okay, no, yeah. I think the only change that I did here was splitting that over several lines. Could that be? That was the new state. New state. Ugh. Nope. 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 Oh, nope. Yeah, apparently I did a bit of a cleanup there everywhere, and this is, yeah, okay. So what I actually want, I think, is we want to start this polling if an SD file is selected and auto detection of prints via SD is enabled, or if that is disabled, the printer is already printing. So if the state is printing, then we want the M27 stuff. So I think we should be fine with something like this. Question is why it is complaining here, or is it still thinking? Parentheses are correct. Boolean algebra is correct. And now it also noticed, yeah, okay, the syntax is correct too. So if we set this to false, the M27 polling should only run as soon as we actually switch to SD printing. And SD printing is SD file is selected and we are printing. So both has to be the case in that case. Both has to be the case in that case. That sounded weird, but I hope you understand it. So I'm going to go back to that in a sec, but there was an interesting idea by Sean on the chat that I want to share here regarding the config stuff for the printer profiles. So the idea he shared is that we would have a global setting, like a general setting, like general serial settings like we have now, but they could be overridden by the printer profile. And that is actually an idea that I really like, and I keep that in mind. Because that would solve the problem of the migration, because then we would just migrate to the the stuff to the I mean we would not even necessarily have to migrate then because we could just leave the current serial settings and add an additional layer, so we would everywhere where we fetch stuff from the settings right now, like here get serial timeout, we would do something like first check if this timeout stuff is overridden in the printer profiles, and then but I think the cleaner way would be something where we actually refactor the serial settings also in a better hierarchical structure, and then use what we already use for the settings. So what we currently have in the settings is we have these default settings that we saw here, and we have whatever is in config YAML, and config YAML acts as an overlay over that. So the mechanism for this is already there, and it would be nice to be able to reuse it, because we have this funny, where is it? All this needs a bit of a split at some point, I think. We have this we have this chain map there with an hierarchy. Hierarchy. Yeah, the native speakers of you are probably currently laughing their butt off, their collective butts off, but I'm simply going to call it an hierarchische Kettenmap, and I can actually pronounce that. And that already supports overlays, so that would actually be fairly easy to just reuse this chain map here. I'm just trying to remember. Yeah, I built that because you can also do overlays from plugins. Right, that was the reason. Yeah, so you have like a whole bunch of configuration sources, and it always takes the one at the top, basically, if you try to fetch a key. Okay. And so the idea is that this was probably already what we needed. And we can, now is the point where we will try to test that. And so I'm going to restart the, for now we're going to leave it at the default. So by default, nothing should have changed now. The behavior should still be the same. Hierarchical. I'm being told in the live chat. Hierarchical chain map. Hierarchical chain map? Is this correct? Gina is learning English today. So we're going to reload. Hierarchical. Yay. You should have seen me when I learned how to pronounce sewing machine. That was a fun morning. I'm going to connect to the virtual. Apparently. Right, yeah, because I fixed the. Ignore this, please. This is from a previous test. And I'm entirely unsure if there is some kind of. Oh, nice. See, I actually already built some stuff into the virtual SD printer so that I can quickly trigger these messages that I want to see there now. But I only want to see stored, right? So we are going to. You usually cannot use this stuff that I'm going to use here now. This only works with the virtual printer that I'm using for development. That's a plugin that's built into OctoPrint by default, but which you have to enable via the development settings. And I'm using that here for some on-the-fly adjustments of behavior. So for example, if I want the firmware to simulate like a lost command or something, I can tell it to ignore the next 20 commands or something like this in order to test OctoPrint's code to recover from situations like this. And I can also tell it to send a recent request for the next received line due to a broken checksum or something like this. And I can also do stuff like this, as you can see. So I'm going to have it select this file, and this should hopefully work. I haven't used it in a while. Right, so it's just sent us file opened, file selected, and you can see the M27 is starting to get polled. So this is the default behavior, this is correct. Now we are going to, Now we are going to go into the configuration file, and we're going to change the setting. I'm in the wrong direction. I want to go down here. What was it called again? Enable something. Just wondering about the case. There. And now we're going to set that to false. And restarting. Do we have to restart, or do we can just reconnect, I think. Let us try that. So connection, disconnect. Oh, by the way, yeah, you just saw a new feature there that I'm going to quickly go over next. Virtual. Hello. Something is hanging. Closing down buffer loop. All right. Oh, interesting. I think that's a bug. Yep, that's a bug. Something is not properly resetting when I disconnect. Why did no one report that? Maybe it's just happening with the virtual printer. Okay, so we're now connecting to that again, and are going to debug select SD, I think, and then 20 millimeters box.gco. That was apparently correct. Yeah. And it's not starting to pull. Nice, right? So that seems to work. But if I now... But it has it selected here, and if I now click print, I would expect it to start to pull. And it does. Ha! Sweet, sweet, nice. So that works. This was correct. Now we need a way to toggle it through the UI. So first of all, we need a way to get it on the API, and you're now going to see a part of OctoPrint that I'm really not proud at all about, and something that I really need to refactor because it's a mess. Because instead of just passing through whatever is the current config, I am doing copying of values back and forth, and that is really, really bad design, and you really should not just look away maybe for a bit because it's not good. So yeah, I need to change that. The problem is that it's not as simple as just passing through the config, because I want to ensure some data types here. So what I need is actually config structure. I think Cura actually does have something like that inside, where I can enforce these conversion things and all that. And yeah, I need to do that at some point, but I already have ideas how to. The only problem, as usual, is just some other stuff that has a bigger priority, and so I keep adding conversion methods, or rather conversion calls here, and also to the other side. So this is stuff that the other was what we sent out on the API, and this is now what we get in on the API. Yeah, we want it there. So if this is in data serial, then we want to set the Boolean value of this in our config to it. And now we should get it on the API. Apologies if you're hearing the church bells again. I really cannot stop them. Yeah, I really cannot stop them. They are like, yeah, it's just, this is Germany. Static? No, not static. Templates. Right. And dialogues, settings, serial connection. Okay, I think this is a case for firmware and protocol. I'm not entirely sure though, so I'm going to quickly take a look at the settings dialog there. So it's definitely not general. It's not intervals and timeouts. The question is if it's firmware and protocol or behavior. And I think firmware and protocol actually makes the most sense. Yeah, definitely. Well, because behavior is more like what to do in case of certain things that happen, and firmware and protocol is how to talk to the firmware and what kind of behavior the firmware has that we need to react differently to. So yeah, that's the idea here. The interesting bit, of course, would be if we can add this to the automatic firmware detection here somehow. But we have to check that. So for now, we'll yeah, I know. For now, we're simply going to add it to this thing. And this is here, serious settings, firmware specific settings, and if the firmware detection is disabled, wait, so we have select as defaults by relative path, only recent, temperature format, disable of internal heat ups, pause communication to G4. So I think we are going to add it after here because this is the SD specific stuff, and we can just copy this. Serial enable. Let me quickly check something. Yeah, I can use that. Okay, I just wanted to make sure that I can actually use ditto here in order to have a clipboard that is longer than one part, because it makes things so much easier. So we're going to do that, and then we're going to do that. And this is, I guess it's Ultimaker 2. Because this is the only printer on this on which this has been reported, I think. I can close that, I can close that. The op referenced a different ticket. So maybe we can just quickly, oh nice! It has a firmware name that I can detect, so I can add it to auto detection. I'm going to show you how to do that then, because that's kind of fun. But yeah, where is printing from SD? But yeah, that's also just the Ultimaker 2. There's no report of Ultimaker 2. Yeah, see, so much for standing my ground. And also apparently the Ultimaker 2 Plus, right? Sounds that way. So we're going to say Ultimaker 2 Plus here. So we just like have a label here like we already have for RepRap firmware and Repetier here, so that you just have a quick visual indication of what kind of firmware needs this to work. I have no idea what I just clicked, but I hope the flicker of the desktop was not too distracting. So this should already work. So if we restart now so that the stuff is on the API, this should already work. And we restart. Toodaloo. Time to hydrate. Oh, great. And I almost got that into the wrong pipe. That would have been a sight to see. Okay, so that is restarted. And now we can check. And I'm also going to quickly eat a handful of berries and such, because I don't want a repetition of last time. Oh, yeah. Maybe I should give it an actual, more descriptive name, right? Oh. I fear we have to quickly invert this thing. Because, I should have thought about that. Because if I phrase it now like enable SD enable SD printing detection and say that it is Ultimaker 202 Plus specific, then it sounds like you need to enable it on these machines instead of you need to disable it on these machines. Meh. Yeah, so we are going to quickly rename that thing again and invert the logic, but that is it should be easily done. So disable SD. I cannot type today. SD printing detection. Yeah. We also, of course, need to change it here. Disable. You know what? Disable. Also up there. Disable. 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 And a notch down here. And not. I think that should be it. I changed it on the API, I changed it where it is used, I changed it in the settings, and I changed it here. So that sounds about right. It's also only the only 4 tabs that I have open here, so that sounds about right. I'm going to restart the server, and then we're going to check if stuff now looks more correct. John asks what the ETA is for my UHK. So for those of you who are not following me on Twitter, I recently bought myself, or rather I ordered one, an Ultimate Hacking keyboard, which you can, just go to, I think, ultimatehackingkeyboard.com or something. It's like a 60% mechanical keyboard split design, and I ordered it with red switches. And no, we are not going to go into a flame war about the right or the best version of switches now. You can split it, and there are extension modules that you can put there. You know what? Just look at that. Isn't this a beauty? Because you can also add these things here, and like they will only ship in July, but the rest is already there. And so I ordered a keyboard in ISO layout with the wrist rest, and John was kind enough to help a bit. And so this should arrive. So I ordered it in, I think, mid this week or early this week. And back then they said something like it should take around 2 weeks until it ships. So I don't know how long it will stay in shipping then. And but it should hopefully arrive in like a month or so at max. I hope so, at least. And I'm really looking forward to it. The problem is I will have to relearn how to type a bit, because while it has an ISO layout, it's not what I'm used to from ISO DE. So if you look here, yeah, those of you who are native English speakers are probably very familiar with this layout, but mine looks a bit different. So I'll have to learn where these special characters and all that are. But as far as I heard, and yeah, this is like something that is actually preferable if you code a lot, because yeah, all programming languages kind of assume that you run an US ASCII layout, a US ANSI layout, because in order to type a pipe or like brackets or something, you just hit the button here, and I have to hit Alt GR and then kind of do this with my hand. And yeah, this is really not that great, but all right. Yeah, but back to what we're actually working on. So server's back, we're reloading. Oh, and yeah, Brad just said he just realized that Murph would be going on now. Yeah, I know. I also am a bit sad at the moment because yeah, so much for my very first attempt at getting off this continent. It took a pandemic to keep me from doing it, but yeah. Ah well. We get another chance, I hope. As disabled SD printing detection. Right, or override is currently. So we're going to set this. We are going to. What is going on there? Why is the save active? That sounds like something went wrong somewhere. Ah, yeah, right. There we have it. Could not bind view model to target because something is not set. And by the way, this is why I really like Firefox, but their debug console, the stack traces in there, they just, ooh. They really just are bad. So what we're going to do in order to figure out what is actually the problem here, we are going to do the same thing in Chrome. Can I please somehow detach this to the bottom as well? Yes, I can. And then we hopefully get a stack trace that is usable. Now, I see, this is wonderful. Serial disabled SD printing detection is not defined. Compare that with, where was it? Could not bind. And even if I unwrap this, it's not really helping in any way. So yeah, whenever I get some binding error, you always have to start up Chrome. Glenn says that makers on tap are going to be presenting VRF, so Virtual Rap Festival, this weekend on YouTube and Discord. Yeah, I saw that, but I have to admit I won't be attending because, frankly, due to this whole pandemic thing going on, currently I have so much more work on my hands. I'm really bloody stressed, and I just need the weekend to decompress again because I currently feel constantly like I'm. In German, we would say unter Strom, like you actually have a current running through you. You're alive, like a live wire. So I feel a bit like that. So as much as I like the idea, I might tune in, but frankly, I might also just not, because just get a bit of a distance from all the printing stuff for the weekend at least before the craziness starts again on Monday. Okay, so as we said, could not bind. No, what was the actual error again? Unable to process binding. Serial disabled SD printing detection. So for some reason, apparently our API is not pushing out what I expected to push out. So we are going to. This is simply all too cramped. We are going to switch to a separate window for now. After all, just because I need to actually see something in order to find it. Where's the settings call? I'm blind. It should be so. Ah, there. Okay. Yeah, don't think that now you can hack my instance because this is just a local one and this API key will not help you even the tiniest bit. Serial. Disable SD printing is null. Why is it null? Disable SD printing. It should not be null. Okay, let's go through this again. Disable SD printing detection. Disable SD printing detection. Nope. Oh, wait. Oh, you may now laugh at me. Look at that. That's probably the solution. Phew. Okay. No. Yes. That should hopefully have fixed it all. Nope, there was an exception again. And what does the stack trace say? Come on, break so I can debug you. There's still a problem. Well, come on. Disable SD printing detection. Where's the settings? Up where? There. Serial. Disable SD printing detection. True. So far so good. Maybe a caching issue? Could be. Nope. Where's the issue here? Serial, disable SD printing. Unable to process binding. Serial, disable SD printing detection is not defined. Disable, disable. Disable, disable. Huh. It should actually be defined. Oh no. No, 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 no. I forgot something. Or did I? Static, where are you? There. Right. It's only for the plugins that this stuff gets automatically converted. I think. View models? Settings? Settings. Ah, yep, that was the issue. I actually need to... Also something that needs to be changed. All this stuff needs to be auto-generated. This is so annoying to constantly have to type it. Observable, undefined, done. Yep, 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 yep. And reload. Yippee! That looks good. That looks a bit crap. Disable SD printing detection is true. Yeah, I mean, we have to default to it with false, actually, because we inverted the logic. So, false. We can close that again. And yeah, okay. Nah, that's the default value. Yeah, I need to restart it. Okay. And it's taking ages again to restart, of course. Okay. Now it's defaulting to the correct value. Can close this for now. And if I click, oh wait, there, and save this, we should hopefully see it get adjusted. Yeah, in here right now. Ignore that because that is still the old one that we no longer use. But it set it here. And if I now unset it again, right here. Now unset it again, the line should vanish. And it did. So that is working. Now we do a quick test again. If the whole mechanism still works, because we inverted the logic, so technically we changed the code, so we have to check again that it still does what it should be doing. Debug, select SD, 20 mmb tilde 1 Gcode. Oh, not 10, 20. Yep. And it's starting because we did not disable it. Disconnect. And now we are disabling it. Save. Reconnect. Then do the same thing again. And it should not start to do M27. Right, that's working. And then we are going to start printing and it should start doing M27. And that's working too. So that's nice. Okay, so that works. So what we're going to do now is, first of all, we're going to create a new branch for that. Yes, I know I have a lot of branches because it's fix issue, not fix. It's improve. It's not a bug, so it's not fix. It's an improvement. Improve. Yeah, disable SD print detection. And we're going to commit that. We want this over here. Okay. So quickly going through that, we defined a setting. No, we have the setting on the API on 2 places. We have an entry for that in the UI. We have the actual use of it inside the COM layer at 2 places. We have it defined in the view model, and we have it defined in our settings. So that is all right. Add setting to disable SD print detection. Closes. What was the number? No, but we are going to reference that as well. 1407 3479 3479. See also 1407. Some firmware variants. Ultimaker 2 plus maybe others. We don't know. Send a file selected message on yeah, while just scrolling through the SD list, the SD file list on the integrated controller unit. M27 polling right after file selection might cause issues for them. Dispatch allows to work around that. So, okay. Commit. So this is the first thing. That's the feature itself. And now what we're going to do is based on this log file that we found here, where it actually says, oh, come on, load. Yeah, where it actually says that the firmware name is this. we are going to use that for auto detection. And I'm just going to look here if there is also maybe a log for the 2+, but apparently there isn't, so I'm just going to go... Oh wait, this is an Ultimaker 2+. That's nice, so we can just match this firmware name, or rather Marlin Ultimaker 2. Oh, actually, wait, we can also check something else here. I can take a look at the environmental information in the tracking. Maybe that gives us some more identifiers that we have to match on. I'm actually going to share that with you. Bam, 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 bam. Okay. Firmware. Down here. Come on. I don't have all day. Yeah, did I mention that the server this is running on is fairly anemic, considering what kind of data it has to process? Also funny to see here so I shared earlier this day on Twitter, on the OctoPrint Twitter, the current print statistics, because they have seen a significant increase over the past 2 weeks now. Everyone is printing. I hope most of you are printing face shields and not just trinkets. And obviously that also means that the number of unsafe firmware warnings has increased. Funnily enough, the most common one is still the stock firmware from the Creality Ender 3. So people, please replace this firmware. It has thermal runaway detection disabled, protection disabled. That's really bad. You do not want to have this run for hours. Something might burn down your house. But this is not what we are here for. What we're here for is this, which is the reported firmwares. And yeah, the question is, how do we... So we have Marlin Ultimaker 2 here. Can I quickly... let me quickly check how I did this. Because here I did some clusters. Oh, right. I think I can work with that. So I can just quickly adjust this with a filter. So this should only show us stuff that starts with Marlin. One or not. Why isn't it working? Oh, it's still loading. Okay. And now it's still showing Clipper. Why is it showing Clipper? I need an and here. Maybe I can just do this. Now it's loading. There's Marlin, there's Marlin. Okay. Now we're going to put there Ultimaker. Then let's see if there's Ultimaker 2. Okay, but still 2. And this is this is a case where a line ending got lost in... Oh no, that's actually worse than that. This is like stuff is getting corrupted on the line while it's being read. But we can ignore that. So apparently there is only this string. So only it always contains Ultimaker 2. And there is nothing else but that. So we can just go back there. I'm not going to need this anymore. And we're not going to save the... We're also not going to need that anymore. So what we're going to do now is we are going to go to the place where we are doing the detection stuff. And that is once again in this monitor loop that we already took a look at. So there is this debugging output handle SD file list, process reason, process timeouts, position error reporting, temperature processing, firmware and name and version. So here's the firmware detection stuff. So we are adding simply a new line here, or rather a new section here. If Ultimaker2 in firmware name lower, then self logger info detected Ultimaker2 firmware, enabling relevant features for issue-free communication. And then we're going to set disable SD printing detection to true if this happens. And this is already it, basically. No, not basically. This is it. We're going to test this, obviously. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take the string from here, this whole identification string that we have here. I don't know what, we're going to really take all of it. And I'm going to give this to the virtual printer so that it reports with that. And that should already do it. So we're going to restart now. Doo-doo-doo-doo-doo. All right, it's there. Staring on there and not noticing that it's done. Reloading. And virtual connect. Yeah, so it's now reporting that it is supposedly an Ultimaker2. And it should also have logged that it... let me check. Somewhere here. Connecting operational. There, firmware data, printer reports name, sending firmware states, sending action to. Okay, I would have expected it to log that. So for some reason, it did not run in there into that. Firmware name. Firmware name is Marlin Ultimaker2 Sprinter Gerbil Mashup for Gen 2. That is actually correct. So we'll have to debug that. For some reason, at least I do not see. This was an info line, right? Yeah. And printer reports. This is that one. That is that one. That is that one. Yeah, we need to debug that. Meanwhile, John says an IT support company nearby is buying up a few kits of printers. I help with the firmware setup. They don't have enough RPIs for them, but plenty of PCs. Any tricks to running OctoPrint on Win? It's not that, there's not that big of an issue actually. So it should work fairly well on Windows. As you can see, the only problem you have is what we talked about last time, where like automatic updates and the backup stuff is not working without some manual intervention. So that is a bit annoying, but otherwise it should be fine. But yeah, Docker might also be an option. It's just noted by Sean. And Osloy asks what's going on at a high level. We are fixing a bug. Not a bug. We are implementing a feature request, which is number 3479, which is about to implement the ability to disable SD printing detection to work around weird firmware implementations. We already did that. What we're doing now is adding auto detection so that this new flag that was added, this new setting that was added that does this disabling stuff, will get automatically applied if OctoPrint sees it's connected to an Ultimaker2, which so far seems to be the only printer affected by this. Okay, so we need to, right, we already had that problem, right? Need to figure out why it's not properly switching state on the UI. Oh, it was. I had to. Right. Original to offline, and now we are reconnecting, and then we should land in. Did I forget to set a breakpoint? No. Oh, 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 that was stupid. It's probably working. I just have to actually enable it. Yeah, cool. Sometimes I trip up myself and then I fall flat down on my face. Okay, so it's now going in there, and then it's not RepRap, it's not Malian, it's not Teacup, it's not Clipper, it's Ultimaker. And it's doing that, and that's great. Okay, so that works. So we can now do the test again, because we always... Was it SD select or select SD? I think it was select SD, but it's going to scream at me if it's not so. Yeah. Yeah, looks good. So it now automatically, oh no, it didn't, because we have it still in here, right? We have to make sure that if it's enabled by default. Yeah, okay, so we have to repeat this test because I just messed it up. Yeah, disconnect. Wait. I did click on the start button, right? Yeah, okay. I did click on the start button. So tup, 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 tup. And just to verify, this line vanished, and also the other line that said to disable the automatic detection vanished. So we can now reconnect. We want to enable auto scroll and try that again. And it's still not triggering an M27. That's good. So we can disconnect again and then roll back our... Where was that again? Up there, right? Yep. We are now going to... fake not only one, but two broken firmwares. And then I'm going to reconnect. Yep. And if we now repeat the test, it should poll M27 again. And it's polling M27, so that works. So we can now commit that as well. No, wait, add auto detection for UM2 for SD print detection. This is a bit long, but should hopefully help. So just to check, I always take a look at what I actually did. So this is all that I did here, just to make sure that I don't actually accidentally commit stuff that is not supposed to be committed. It still sometimes happens, but this final check is a good prevention system. Okay, so this all works. So yeah, when I do multiple commits, I usually try to do a feature branch for stuff like that, because I might also work on it multiple days and all that, but in this case I would not actually have needed it. Kind of ironic. There is detect external SD prints and there's disable SD print detection. Wonderful. So merge into current. We want to have it in the maintenance branch. And then we can also delete this one. And we don't have to delete it remotely because we did not ever create it remotely. And yeah, usually you would now file a pull for a bigger project with more contributors who also maybe want to take a look at stuff. I now might go on GitHub and create a pull request for that stuff. But considering that I'm pretty much maintaining this single-handedly, I can also just do it and push it directly. Makes it so much more streamlined. If I did the PR for every single change, I would drown in stuff and in the overhead. Johan is asking what editor I'm using here. So two actually. So the IDE that I'm currently in, that I also use to run the server and to do debugging. Ooh, that was a tricky one. Is PyCharm up here. I love it. I actually have a bought license. I know they support open source projects as well, but I also use that when I'm not working on open source, which admittedly doesn't happen that much anymore, but still. In my opinion, it is okay to pay money for good tools. So I'm happily paying money for this IDE. But there's also a free community edition. And the other one down here, which I used for edit the configuration file, was Visual Studio Code. But the Insiders edition, so like a preview version of the next big thing. And okay, yeah. So we pushed that. So that should have shown up here now. Should have shown up here now. There it is. And we can therefore consider this solved. And we are going to include a screenshot of the setting just in case, because sometimes people are then confused when they see this in the changelog. So where do I find this actually and all that, and just having that as part of the ticket helps people, in my experience. So, bam, done. And before I call it quits for today, I quickly wanted to show you something here that I mentioned earlier. So some of you might know this thing, which is the printer safety plugin, which is bundled, which I use to detect and warn about printers that have thermal runaway protection disabled or other such critical problems. And I've now extended it to also allow the detection of broken firmware. So there was this case of a firmware. I have no idea where it originated. The first time that I came across it, it was still called, or the only identifying string it had was Zwulf made it. So ZWLF, make it. Sorry, nicht made it, make it. And then later, the same firmware, the same broken firmware, which has like 3 different issues that make it impossible to work with without a workaround. Also started to show up as CBD Make It, and this CBD Make It flavor is making its rounds through quite a number of things. And I have to admit, I was kind of tired of constantly having to tell people, yeah, okay, I know, yeah, you have a broken firmware, install these 2 plugins from this ticket. So I created a fresh plugin that fixes these kinds of broken firmwares. And I also extended the printer safety thingy to also report on that. And then you get this little link here. If it detects this kind of broken firmware, you get this link here, and that takes you to the FAQ and explains to you that you need to install this plugin, and also what is broken about this, and which printers it is currently known that they are affected. Yeah, so this is why this looks differently now, and this will look like this in 1.4.1. And this is also now coming from a plugin that is on a different release cycle, but still considered bundled. So this is I mentioned this briefly in OctoPrint on Air 30. And Jim says Shitu boards, he thinks. I have no idea, to be honest, which boards these printers run. So maybe someone who has one might be able to open it up and look inside. But yeah, I only know about these from reports. Anyhow, this plugin is now coming in as an external dependency, but detected as bundled. So if you run in safe mode, this will still be active. Also has gotten a rename in the process because it's no longer just the not longer the printer safety plugin, but now it's the firmware check plugin or something like that. I think firmware check was correct, yeah. And this makes it easier for me to react to have this as an external dependency that gets pulled in by OctoPrint. Makes it easier for me to react to changes on the market, so to speak. So if suddenly there is another variant of this CBD Make It thing that I don't know suddenly is called ABC Make It or something, then I can add the detection for that to this plugin and simply release a new version of the plugin. And all OctoPrint instances that rely on that, which will be anything starting every version starting at 1.4.1, will get an update notification for this safety or for this firmware check plugin and pull it in. And that's really nice because that will allow me to just, or also when there is a new printer that is revealed as having thermal runaway protection disabled, that will also allow me to react to that stuff and just remotely upgrade all Octoprint versions to also detect that, which so far was a problem because I only could oh, there is the screen, yeah. I only could do that for on releases of Octoprint, and I try not to release Octoprint too often because it's a ton of work to do all the testing phase and all that. And I can't work on new big features when I have a current maintenance release running. And so now I'm out of this longer release cycle of Octoprint and can just do new releases of this on the run, and this is really nice. And this is something that I should have done ages ago, but only now figured out. And I also combined it with a nice GitHub Actions based automatic build. So whenever I release a new version, this now takes care of publishing it and pushing it out and all that, and that's really nice. Yeah. Okay. So we are at almost 2 hours of this. I could start something new now, but frankly, I'm a bit tired. So I think I'm calling it a day here now. And will instead message someone that I'm starting to get hungry. And right, so I hope this was interesting again. So it was a bit different than last time because we first did a bit of debugging and an issue which turned out not to be an Octoprint issue after all, but hey, we learned something new in the process. And then we implemented a feature that was rooted in different parts of Octoprint than the one that we did last time. I'm not sure yet what I will do next or in the next one, and I'm not sure yet when I will do the next live stream, but definitely next week. I'm just not sure yet when exactly. I'm probably going to take Thursday off. Friday is a national holiday here in Germany, and I'm really looking forward to a couple of days of just getting a breather because the past weeks were nuts. I haven't had that much stress with work in all of the 6 years that I've been working on this full time. I think it felt insane, probably because so many people are suddenly finding themselves with time to experiment and add Octoprint to their printers and all that. And I don't know, so much support overhead. And also, of course, I mean, I'm not personally affected by this whole pandemic situation so far, but of course it worries me. So I have to say that I've also not been completely in my center this time. So the combination of the two is, really makes for some stress and for some, being wired feeling. So I'm going to take some days off soon, but over Easter basically. But I'm still going to look if I can maybe do something on Monday or Tuesday or so that we have at least one next week, or maybe Wednesday if push comes to shove. yeah, and I'm simply going to keep the format as is. I'm going to always take a look at some stuff that might be interesting to show on camera. I also got a request in form of a comment on the last one that was a question if I could implement a plugin live on air here, and this is definitely something that I would like to do. The problem is that right now I think I don't have anything in the pipeline for a plugin, for a quick plugin especially. So yeah, if you have any specific requests, just or ideas or something, or stuff that tickles you that is currently already in the issue tracker on OctoPrint on OctoPrint's GitHub, where it says plugin only or something. I think I called the label. If something like that tickles you and then looks like it could be small, or even if, I mean, you probably, if you're not familiar with OctoPrint development, you might not be able to judge if it looks small or not. But if something tickles you, just post it in the comments, and yeah, I'll think about if there is anything in there that makes sense to just do quickly as a part of a 2 or 3 hour stream. For those of you interested in plugin development, because that might actually be very helpful. The only thing is that then right after I create it, I might have to find someone else to maintain it, because I really do not want to commit to maintaining larger plugins anymore. But yeah, we'll see. And yeah, so that would be the current idea. So plugin suggestions down in the comments, please. Can also be suggestions that already exist. And then we'll see if I can maybe turn some of these into, or one of these into reality in an upcoming live stream. I don't know if the next one or one after, but yeah. And I think that's it for now. And I think there's also nothing in the live chat anymore that needs my immediate attention. So yeah, we're calling this quits. So until next time, whenever that will be, sometime next week, just take a look, keep monitoring the YouTube channel and the OctoPrint 3D Twitter account, because this is where I will post this stuff, and I will also post it on Patreon, but I will not push it on the blog and such in the notifications of OctoPrint, because I feel like I would be spamming people that way too much. But yeah, monitor that for when the next thing like this, so the next OctoPrint code and chat will happen. And until then, yeah, like last time, stay safe, wash your hands, and I will see you then. Happy printing. Bye.